Bartholomew is what we would call a last name. What it really is a patronym. The prefix bar means the son of, so Bartholomew means son of Talmai or something like that. Bartholomew is in all of the lists of disciples, listed as one of the 12, but the name appears nowhere else. From early on, this has led to speculation, and you say, none of your listeners is surprised about that, Ethan. You write a speculative devotional podcast. To which I say, touche. A compelling case is made by some that Bartholomew is the last name of the Nathaniel who is mentioned in a few places in John's Gospel. John never gives us his own list of the names of the 12, but Nathaniel does pop up here and there, and always with one or more of the 12. So, there you go. Maybe his name was Nathaniel Bartholomew, and maybe there's no need for any more speculation. So there. Shows you for thinking you could see my speculation coming. The speculation about Bartholomew's first name has already happened. So no, I'm not going to speculate on it any further. And I'll probably eventually write another episode about Nathaniel, too. I don't even care. I'll show you for thinking I'm going to be predictable. I'm not going to sit here and regurgitate other people's speculation. This speculative devotional podcast is for my speculation, not other people's. Whose name is that on the artist slot of this episode in whatever podcast listening app you use? Yeah, mine. This is about my name, a name for myself. I used to play soccer in college. And by that I mean that I practiced with the team and watched from the bench as that team I practiced with played games. I'm not sore about it. I know I peaked in high school. Anyway, my teammates called me Churney, or Churn Dog, because the oldest of them remembered having my dad as a professor, and those my age and younger imitated our senior players. That's my last name, Churney. Churn Dog translates to something like son of the professor that some of us remember. At least, that's how I understood it. How do you feel about being called by your last name, though? It's a pretty bro-y thing to do, right? Teammates, male and female, do it, probably because that's what's printed on the back of jerseys. But it feels like a frat boy bro thing to do, too. Maybe an office colleague bro thing, or like a thing a man with even a little authority over you would do, or like a person, male or female, does to be ironic and mock the man with even a little authority over you type. The boss, the police chief, the RA character in the college movie shouts, "Churney, get in here!" And how am I supposed to feel about that? It's a funny thing that we can give respect to or command respect from people, even with the choice of how much of which part of their name we use to address them. And it's a communication thing, right? So I can try to command respect from you by calling you just by your last name, but whether or not you see it that way depends on your perspective, not mine. Like, maybe I think I'm being appropriately authoritative, but you just think, here goes Pastor Bro again, and you think me a frat boy or a cliche or just out of touch, when all I wanted was to playfully suggest that I'm owed even just a tiny bit of respect. And maybe you ask me not to do that, right? Maybe you ask me to use your title or just use your first name, or maybe even to use pronouns other than the ones I would have assumed were appropriate based on facial hair, voice, how you dress, and the norms of English grammar. And then it's my chance to employ perspective and think, oh, here goes Captain Sensitive again, or think you're a snowflake liberal, or whatever label the kids are using these days. It's a funny thing that what I call you can mean whole worlds of respect, disrespect, honor, contempt, patience, intolerance, love, or not. And what I know about you and what you know about me and how those play off of each other makes all the difference in the world. maybe he just always introduced himself as Bartholomew, even to people who didn't know his dad. Maybe he didn't want to be called Nathaniel. Maybe that wasn't even his name. Maybe the other 11 were just his friends who called him what they called him, that said, "The son of Talmai is our friend whom we respect and honor and treat with patience and love." Maybe Jesus himself called him by whatever name he chose, and Bartholomew was cool with that and told people to be like Jesus by asking them to call him Bartholomew the way Jesus did, and by encouraging them to love everyone the way Jesus did, and to be patient with everyone the way Jesus was, and to honor and respect people the way Jesus did. And so maybe Bartholomew introduced himself as Bartholomew and asked people, "What can I call you? How do I, even with the choice of how much of which part of your name I use to address you, show you that I'm trying to love you, that I'm trying to be patient with you even as I require patience from you? I honor and respect you. Help me to know how to communicate that to you, because then, dear whoever you are, maybe I can be a little like Jesus to you, and thereby point you to the Jesus who knows us by name and wrote our names in the book of life with the blood he shed on the cross for you, him, her, them, everybody." Maybe. I mean, I'm just guessing. You and I are dust and breath, loved by God, bought by Jesus. This podcast is written and produced by me, Ethan Cherney, a Wells pastor serving Bethel Lutheran Church of Menasha, Wisconsin. Get in touch on Facebook at Dust and Breath Pod, on Twitter at Dust Breath Pod, or by emailing dustandbreathpod@gmail.com. Outro music arranged and performed by Mr. Peter Shawy, who is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you could leave a review in iTunes or just share an episode on social media, I'd really appreciate it. It's the only way other people can find the show. Now, go do what God made you to do. Be who God called you to be. Go see what God can do with dust and breath and faith in Jesus, his Son.